Walk into any store or shop online for a new computer, and you are immediately hit with a wall of numbers. Processor speeds, memory capacities, and graphics cards. It feels like you need a computer science degree just to check out. But most of that is marketing noise, designed to make you spend more. What you actually want is a machine that starts up fast, doesn't lag when you have a dozen tabs open, and doesn't drain your bank account for upgrades you will never use. Retailers pitch the left column's processors and drives for speed, but everyday snappiness relies on two right-side components. Those marketed specs are a financial trap. Knowing exactly which specs to ignore lets you bypass the retail upsell and put your money toward the parts that actually dictate how the computer runs day to day. This chart maps out computer upgrades by extra cost versus the noticeable daily speed boost they provide. First up is your storage drive. Older technology, called a hard disk drive, or HDD, sits right here. It is cheap to produce, but noticeably sluggish when you try to open a file or start your machine. If you want immediate speed, you have to choose a solid-state drive, or SSD. This is the single most important choice you can make for an everyday computer. An SSD means your computer starts up in seconds instead of minutes. Programs snap open instantly, making the entire machine feel awake. The trade-off is that solid-state drives are more expensive to manufacture, meaning you get fewer total gigabytes for the same price compared to those older hard drives. But you likely don't need a massive drive. 256 gigabytes is plenty for standard daily use. That smaller size works perfectly if you rely on cloud services like Google Drive or OneDrive for your documents and backups. The exception is if you prefer to keep large photo albums, videos, or extensive file libraries directly on the physical computer itself. In that case, step up to a 512 gigabyte SSD. Warning tone: buying a cheaper laptop just because it advertises a massive 1 terabyte hard drive is a trap. The extra space won't matter when you're waiting 30 seconds for your web browser to open. Refusing to buy any computer without an SSD is step one to securing a responsive machine. The second component that dictates daily speed is RAM, or memory. Think of RAM like physical desk space. When you open an app, you're placing it on the desk. A small desk fills up fast, and soon you're shuffling papers around just to find room to work. That shuffling is what causes your computer to freeze or lag. 8 gigabytes of RAM is the standard baseline today. It handles isolated tasks fine, like writing a single document while checking your email. But it hits a wall if you like to keep dozens of browser tabs open, run Spotify in the background, and hop on a video call all at once. That is why 16 gigabytes of RAM is the optimal target for most buyers. With 16 gigabytes, you can multitask seamlessly. It also future-proofs the laptop, ensuring it won't feel obsolete when software gets heavier a few years down the road. You might also see computers offering 32 gigabytes of RAM, but don't take the bait. That much memory is exclusively required for intense workloads, like professional video editing, heavy gaming, or running specialized software. Back on our investment chart, 16 gigabytes of RAM lands right here. It costs a little more upfront, but provides a massive boost to how well your computer handles daily life. Paying for that RAM upgrade is the most cost-effective insurance policy you can buy against system lag. That brings us to the processor, or CPU. Retailers lean heavily on flashy brand names and complex generation numbers to create a fear of missing out. They want you to think a baseline processor will be too slow for your needs. Let's plot the absolute latest generation processor on our chart. Notice where it lands for a standard user. High cost, very low daily speed boost. For 95% of people checking email, writing documents, and browsing the web, a standard current generation chip is completely indistinguishable from the most expensive Pro model. Unless you are rendering high-resolution video or playing high-end video games, you will not use that extra processing power. Paying for an expensive processor without a specific need for it actively drains your budget away from the RAM and storage upgrades you actually rely on. The same rule applies to dedicated graphics cards. If you don't game or edit video, actively avoid paying for them. Ignoring processor marketing frees up hundreds of dollars, giving you the budget to afford the components that actually matter. The central rule of buying a computer is simple. Optimize your budget for daily responsiveness, not raw, unused computational power. Let's map this on a decision tree. If you're not a heavy editor, move to the everyday user path. Using cloud storage, your match is 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 256 gigabyte SSD. Keeping large libraries locally, step up to a 512 gigabyte SSD. Buying to this exact formula ensures you get a computer that feels instantly fast, without wasting a dime. Next time, we'll look at the secondary market and answer whether buying a refurbished model is actually a safe bet.